What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Today we're checking out the Maxpedition BEEFY Pocket Organizer. These are available on Amazon for around $29 in a bunch of different colors. You can get black, khaki, wolf gray, OD green, foliage green, which is what we're looking at today. And as always, I'll make sure to leave a link to where you can find these down in the description of the video. If you're not familiar with Maxpedition, they're kind of the OGs when it comes to EDC pouches and bags. And in fact, one of the earliest videos on my channel featured a Maxpedition micro pocket organizer. And since then, I've also picked up a bunch of the fatty, other sizes as well, but a bunch of the fatty, which I think is a good comparison to the beefy because the beefy is the next size up from the fatty. And so the fatty is 7 inches tall by 5 inches wide and then around 2 inches in depth. Whereas with the beefy, you're gonna get about 8 inches tall, 6 inches wide, and then 2.5 inches in depth. You can see the way this is loaded out, it's pushing that a little bit further out to maybe closer to 3.5 inches. And there's still room to add more inside and expand that if you want to. So there definitely have room to expand past that 2.5 inches depending on how you're loading that out. I've actually gotten the fatty in a few different colors, and this video made me realize I've never made a video on one of them. So maybe I'll do that in the next couple weeks. But for now, let's focus on our beefy. So once again, 8 inches tall, 6 inches wide, 2.5 inches in depth. That's about 1.9 liters of capacity. These are extremely well built. They're made in Vietnam, designed in the USA. They're made out of a 1050 denier nylon, YKK zippers, Duraflex hardware, and like I said, I've been using these for probably upwards of a decade, and I've never had one fall apart or start to fray on me. They're just really, really well built. And so 1050 denier nylon, we have a 2x4 strip of Velcro at the top for your Ranger eyes or patches. You can see I decked mine out with some Maxpedition patches. And then we also have this mesh netting where our tag lives that's Velcro behind the tag as well, so that's kind of hiding that Velcro, allowing you to put those small flat objects, perfect for band-aids, cash, receipts, things like that. You can see I opted for a glow card back here. So it's the size of a credit card, but it's just M-Bright, I think, and it glows in the dark, so I can leave this sitting out during the day, and at night that's gonna glow nice and bright and make it easy to visibly see this and identify it at night. I also went with the lighter color for that same reason. Obviously with something like the black, which the fatty's available in all the same colors this one is, but something like the black, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult to see at night. And so before we get to the interior, let's flip this around and take a look at the back where we have some MOLLE webbing. So if you want to mount this on another pack or really mount other objects to this, you have that opportunity. I typically use them as standalone bags, which is why this grab handle is great. Nice durable grab handle. So if you have one under your seat, which I have one under my driver's side seat, you can immediately pull that out. If you have it in a bag, you can use that to grab it. And you can see those are box stitched, so on there nice and secure as well. And then we have YKK zippers. Once again, those are color matched to our bag. And then we even have some paracords on there as our pulls. This is a full clamshell style opening, which allows you to see your contents in their entirety when you open that up. My favorite style of pouch, and that's probably where that originated since these were my first clamshell style pouches. I'm gonna remove this microfiber cloth, kind of a little shop rag here, which I usually keep in here to keep everything separated from rubbing up against each other, but also just in case you need to wipe anything down. Now this opens up like a book, so we're gonna read it the same way from left to right. I will measure out all of these elastic loops and things like that at the end of the video once we get everything out, but I like to show pouches and the types of items that can fit in their various pockets because sometimes that's a little bit easier to visualize than just giving you measurements. And so if you just want the measurements, skip ahead, but otherwise we're going to go through all of these objects pretty briefly since the focus is more on the pouch, but we'll talk about them each briefly. So first up, I have a carpenter's pencil. One thing you won't see in here is the sharpener made for these, but you can easily sharpen it with a knife, which we have on our multi-tool, so I elected not to include one in there. Next to that, we have a pair of tack and tweezers from Civivi. This is a design by Bob Terzulla for tweezers that slide out. Really, really cool. I actually had an opportunity to tour his shop, and he said this was a design he's had in the works forever, and he mentioned it's Civivi, and they were super excited about making them, but he's had some in his personal collection for long before these ever existed. So really cool set of tweezers. I like how they slide out of there and give you access to those, and you can put them onto a keychain as well. Behind that, we have the Victorinox bit driver here. You can see it has that L-shaped 90-degree angle here, so you can do inline screws, or if you need a little bit more torque, you have that angle, and the entire thing mounts up to the bit holder that's included. So I have some of the original bits that came with this bit kit, but you can see I replaced it with some WeHa bits, with some that I use pretty frequently, like the Torx bits that are constantly used for knives, and another flathead here as well. And one thing you'll notice as we go through this is there's going to be a lot of duplication, and that's very intentional. So with a lot of these, like a bit driver, you're gonna have screws that aren't captive, and so they'll just free spin if you don't have another bit holding the other side of it. And so having two allows you to manipulate both sides at the same time and can be very useful. So we'll see duplication in not only our bit driver, but our pliers and things like that as well. Now, speaking of duplication, we have another writing instrument here. This is from Solbuilt. This is called the Marksmith, the original Marksmith, and this one is a bolt action permanent marker. So not your typical pen, it uses Sharpie inserts, and so bolt action permanent marker. And the reason I included a permanent marker and a pencil rather than a pen, there's no pen in this kit, is they're just a little bit more versatile. Both can write on paper, but you can use a pencil to write on the cement if you really need to. It gives you that opportunity to write on different surfaces. Same thing with a permanent marker. If you're writing on someone's clothes because you just applied a tourniquet, it's going to be a little bit difficult to do, may not show up. Yes, you can write on fabric with a pen, but it's not going to show up nearly as well as something like a permanent marker. You can also use that to write on windows or metal, any other types of things like that. And so just a little bit more versatile than your standard pen. This next object, I don't know what these are called. It's kind of a telescoping magnet though, and I have a bunch of these that I throw in kits all the time. They're a lot more useful than you know. They're not 100% necessary, but if you drop something down a drain, or if you just need to get something out of a crack that's being a little bit stubborn, you drop like a screw into the crack and you can't get it out with your fingertip, you can use this to pick that up. It extends quite a bit, and so very, very useful, although not 100% necessary for a tool bag. I do like throwing them in there. Now, next up, we have a pair of Klein electrician scissors. One of my favorite tools on any multi-tool is always the scissors. For whatever reason, I use them a ton, even though I carry knives and a lot of times their use case can overlap. I love just having a pair of scissors, and so these are a little bit more durable, a little bit just higher quality than any of the scissors you're gonna get in a multi-tool, and they have some added functionality as well. You can see there's a little bit of tape residue. These are a little bit dirty, but absolutely love these Klein Tools electrician scissors. Behind that, we have a pair of Knipex pliers. And again, we're gonna see some duplication in our multi-tool, but for the same reason, you might need one to spin the bolt and the other to hold the nut. And so it's nice to have at least two pair of pliers in any of these tool kits. Behind that, we have this kind of dump pocket. It goes all the way down to the bottom. You can really make use of the full interior, which is probably 7.5 by 5.5 inches or so. Obviously, you lose some of that real estate of the 8x6 with the edges and the seams, but you can make use of pretty much all of the rest of that space. We also have a loop up here, just a soft loop that you can attach keychains to. And so you can see I just have a small tool on here. We'll go ahead and remove that so we can take a closer look. This is a Milwaukee ratcheting bit driver, and so this ratchets in both directions, and then it has a small carrier from Milwaukee as well with a socket adapter and a couple bits included. You can easily swap those out to kind of match up with what you have in the other bit driver, or to complement them if you want, just kind of different for all of them. And so just a nice little ratcheting bit driver that has this little carabiner gate on there so you can mount it to your keychain or pouches like this. And then behind that, we also have this D-ring. This is where the Duraflex hardware comes along. This is a Duraflex D-ring, and this is something you've probably seen in a lot of other videos, and that's because it just kind of moves from bag to bag with me and pouch to pouch, and so I just leave the same gear on there. It has a Phillips and a flathead in case I don't have those bit drivers we mentioned before. It has a small pry tool with a bottle opener and another bit driver. So this is a 1/4 inch bit driver here, and then we have the Victorinox Cadet, my all-time favorite Victorinox. Very simple, and just absolutely love this one, so it makes sense to kind of have it travel from bag to bag with me. I have a different one on my keychain right now, but I still can't stay away from that Cadet. Back here we have some more items just floating around in there. So here we have the NAF's titanium ruler and angle finder. So 6-inch ruler has inches on one side, centimeters on the other, and then we have an angle finder on either side of that ruler. So just kind of a nice handy ruler to have. It's not too large and you can use it as a straight edge as well. And so that's a really nice thing to have with you. We have a Write in the Rain all-weather universal notebook. I believe this is the 4-inch wide by 6-inch tall spiral bound top spiral bound notebook, and these are great because you can write in the rain. The pages are water resistant, and so we can use that Sharpie in there and just write whatever we need to. Went with orange since we're in October, so I figured Halloween. Behind that, we also have the WD-40 water displacement precision pen, and so very, very useful to have. Just kind of one of those things like duct tape that you can never have, or can never not have it in your toolkit. It's just kind of a mandatory bit of kit, so I tossed that in there. Obviously the spray can wouldn't have fit so well unless we cleared out some of these items. Probably could get one of the mini cans in here as well, but I elected to use a precision pen. So that's everything on the left side, I believe. Yeah, it feels like we're empty here, so we'll measure those out once again at the end. But let's move over to the right side, and so here you can see the orientation of our elastic loops change, but so did the sizing. So on the left side, the front loops are smaller, and then we have the larger back loops. On this side, the front loops are about the size of these larger back loops, and then the back loops are even double that, so you get much bigger loops on this side. You'll also notice that we have the 1-inch wide elastic here, and then the 1-inch here, and then the 2-inch in the back. So those are going to be a little bit taller as well to offer a little bit more security there. And so we'll start back here at the top. We have the Gerber exchange blade. I just did a video on this, so you may have watched that video, just a utility blade in there. We also have right here, this can be used just left in the pack, or you can remove it. This is the Sparko. It's just kind of a nice little area light, so that's a battery indicator, but you can see glows nice and bright. We can leave it attached to the strap to light up the area. Another area where we have a little bit of duplication, because I have a standalone flashlight here as well, but this one's more of a spotlight, where this is more of an area light. So it gives you kind of the best of both worlds by pairing the two. Back here is pretty cool. This is the Doughboy Enchilada. This is a 3D printed sharpener, and if you've never seen it before, very cool, very affordable since it's 3D printed. This turns around and actually slots into here, and so now you have the strop on this side, but you can actually remove that and turn it around, and you can see there's a small sharpening stone underneath that as well. So you have both a leather strop, which I already have some green compound on, as well as that sharpener. And so just a nice compact portable knife sharpener. And so that is again from Doughboy, the Enchilada. Continuing on, we have the Welltool T1 Pro Little Duke. Great little flashlight with only 2 different brightness settings, and so it has the low and the high, but it's a nice spotlight, really cool little tactical light. And at first I was a little bit hesitant on this one since it didn't have a ton of features, but I've actually fallen in love with this one. I use this one so much, and so you can see it's starting to show little signs of wear around the edges and things like that, but just a really nice spotlight, pretty compact as well, great battery life on it, so it's been a go-to for me for a little bit now. Over here we have the Leatherman rebar. Can't miss out on a multi-tool in here, obviously going to serve a ton of different functions. We are not going to go over all of the different tools on the rebar in this video, but one of my favorite Leatherman tools, so had to go with the rebar here. Behind that, we just have a roll of duct tape. You can roll these around a credit card or something like that, but yeah, I went with one that was pre-rolled. This is from Countycom, and so don't know how many feet are here, but quite a bit here. You can use this as a fire tinder, but obviously to just pass things back together. If you have a hole in your pants, you can or jacket, you can toss this some duct tape on it. If you just need to tie something together with that duct tape, you can do that, and it gives you a lot of versatility. I also went with the orange for a little bit of signaling, so if you need to like tape something off to let you know you've been there and you're not wandering in circles, or maybe someone can see it and identify if they're looking for you, having that bright orange just makes it a little bit more visible. One thing I really like about these pouches is this center loop here. So just a round elastic loop that you can put different objects. So right now I have those Bic reach lighters, if you've seen them, but this one is in a tobacco tactical sleeve, and so this sleeve just kind of slides in around it. You can pull that out of there pretty easily, and it fits any full-size Bic, so it doesn't have to be specifically these reach lighters, but I like them with the reach lighters quite a bit, because if you're lighting candles or something, it gives you just a little bit more space there, or really anything where you might want to reach in. There's a reason they have both Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg as promoters for those reach lighters. Now moving on behind there, just a bit of Kevlar cord. This is just high strength cordage. I put a zip tie around it to keep it a little bit more organized from unraveling in the pack, and so there was a lot of room floating around in here to add other objects as well, and so just a nice spot for it. It also keeps that spine nice and stiff if you load that up with gear, because it's not going to be able to bend on you. So I like putting stuff in that spine, and I really appreciate the extra space, because otherwise it can go wasted in other packs that don't have something like that. One of the other pockets on here is very similar to our dump pocket, but this one is controlled by a zipper, so everything's contained in there. It's not going to fall out on you. Also a YKK zipper. This one has the original zipper pull, but it's been color matched again to our bag. And this is about the same size, so probably about 7.5 inches tall by 5.5 inches wide. And you can just put all kinds of small objects in here. So in here I have a couple different band-aids. I have some fire tinder here, just some waxed jute. We have a bunch of random objects in here. Let's see what else. We have a piece of fat wood, as well as some matches with a striker in there. We also have a couple more items. Little magnifying glass. This one I think has a light on it, so you can push right here. It looks like it's probably dead though, and so it does have that light here, but it's been dead for a while as far as I know. And so just a magnifying glass. It's not super powerful or clear glass, but it's still nice if you need it for some reading, just identifying something small, finding a splinter. We have the Mech Army caliper here, and so this can double as a straight edge or ruler to pair with our other ruler. So once again, some duplication, but it also functions as a caliper if you want to do some measurements like that. And we also have a couple more small items. I thought we were empty, but it feels like we have at least 2 more items. A small pocket saw, so this is not enough to saw through a tree, but if you need to cut up some small tinder, you can definitely do it with this pocket saw. You can also use it to cut through rope and things like that. And then last but not least, this little keychain grappling hook. So this is not nearly enough to carry a human's weight, but it is good for retrieving objects. Again, if you drop something down a drain or a grate, you can get in there. So I'm not going to assemble it right now, but I have another one pre-assembled here, and so you can see exactly what that looks like. And I compare that with my Kevlar cord to, again, drop that down, or even throw it up into a tree to pull a branch down if you need to, something like that if you got something caught in the tree. So a lot of different uses for this, even though it's not your traditional grappling hook. That's everything I have in here though, so let's get our ruler and quickly measure these out. We already talked about back pockets, but these elastic loops, these front ones are about 1 inch by 1 inch. These back ones are 2 inches tall, but they're about 2 inches wide, so you have 3 of those, 6 inches in total. And then back here, same thing, we have 2 inches wide in the front with an 1 inch strip of elastic, and then 4 inches wide in the back with a 2 inch strip of elastic. So 2 of those 2x4s, and then 4 of the 1x2s here. So that's it for this one. Let me know what you think of this pouch, what you would put in here if you have one, and what you're using it for. And again, I'll make sure to link to it in the description. I'll try and link to all of the items in the description as well if you're looking to pick any of those up. But would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, checking out some of my other content. All helps the channel out a ton, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.